call the meeting to order. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day and the city in which we live. Guide us this evening as we make our decisions. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen.
This is the April 23rd, 2024 regular meeting of the Newnan City Council. I'll entertain a minute from the meeting of April the 9th, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. We have several people tonight that we're going to introduce. A couple of them are in groups, but the first person, before I get into the agenda tonight, I would like to introduce is the Boy Scout in our midst, Will Barnett. If you'll stand, welcome. We appreciate you being here tonight. Will is with Troop 57. He's at Newnan High School in the 11th grade, correct? And he is here tonight satisfying his citizenship in the community merit badge. We appreciate you being here and good luck on the road to Eagle. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, under boards and commissions, 5 appointments to the Bicentennial Committee. Ms. Jenkins, you have yours.
I do not.
Okay, Mr. Critco.
Next meeting as well, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gion.
I have them both. How about that?
Good for you.
Yes, yes. I would like to nominate Ashley Keeley and Joy Barnes.
Second.
Okay, motion is second. Say those names again for the record, please. Joy Barnes and...
Ashley Keeley and Joy Barnes.
All right, thank you. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. Thank you. The next is Christmas Commission. This is Ms. Jenkins.
Next meeting, please.
Thank you. Neura, Mr. Critco.
Next as well, please.
Thank you. And Mr. Shell on Neura.
I have mine.
Thank you.
Yes, I'd like to appoint Eric Miller.
All right.
Second.
Motion is second. We appoint Eric Miller to the Neura Board. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. Thank you. Then tonight, Mr. Phillips, do you have anything?
Youth Council.
Yes, we're going to get there in just a second.
Okay.
And I don't have anything this evening. So we have got 2 groups that we're going to recognize tonight. Youth Council first. These are the graduating seniors from our Newnan Youth Council who have served in that capacity for 1 or 2 years. And we appreciate, or 3 years if possibly. So we appreciate their service, and we're going to step through that. And Ms. Jenkins is going to assist in calling out the names. I'm going to hand out the certificates. And then, after we do that, we're going to recognize the members of the Newnan Citizens Academy who just finished their class this past month, on this month. So, Jenkins.
Okay. As Mr. Mayor said, we have several students, and we are being joined by the chair, Roy Garner, of the Youth Activities Commission, which is the adult group that oversees the Newnan Youth Council. Thank you so much for your service and all of the YAC members. With us tonight, you will hear the extraordinary things that our students have planned for the rest of their lives, and we're so proud that they started some of this with us. So, as you recall, please come up, get your certificate and your honor cord. We do have honor cords that we give to graduating seniors from the Newnan Youth Council that they will be able to wear at graduation. First, we have Adele Wolfer, 12th grader from Newnan. She was the 2022-23 NYC Newnan representative, the 2023 historian, and will be going to Auburn University, majoring in nursing. Congratulations. We have Sunny Durham, 12th grader at Heritage. He was 23-24 National League of Cities attendee, 23-24 Christmas Parade judge, and the 23-24 Heritage representative, and he will be going to the Georgia Institute of Technology, commonly known as Georgia Tech, majoring in business. And that's my only one on the list. Everybody can't hear. Miles Fabre, 12th grader, Heritage. He was our 22-23 treasurer Cities attendee and the 23-24 Newnan Youth Council Chair. He will be going to Augusta University, majoring in computer science and cybersecurity. We have Sarah Hayes Grody, 12th grader from Newnan. She is the 23-24 Christmas Parade Judge, and she will be going to the University of Georgia, majoring in early childhood education. See why I had to get my one in. Macy Horn, 12th grader at Newnan. She's the 23-24 Christmas Parade Judge, and she will be attending the University of Georgia, majoring in public health. You'll get to say that a couple more times. Sam Knight, 12th grader Heritage. He was the 23-24, yeah, you had to look up for the first time. National League of Cities attendee, 23-24 NYC treasurer, and he will be attending Samford University, majoring in environmental science. Rico Lane, 12th grader, East Coweta High School. 22-23 NYC East Coweta representative, 23-24 Christmas Parade judge, 23-24 NYC vice chair. He will be attending the University of Alabama at Birmingham, majoring in cancer biology with a concentration in pre-dentistry. What now? We do have a student who is not here, because he's already gone off to college. Keaton McNutt, 12th grader, East Coweta. He is on a football scholarship to Auburn University, majoring in business.
War Eagle.
Belinda Ramirez Ocampo, 12th grade at East Coweta. She was the 22-23 parliamentarian. She went to the National League of Cities in 24, Christmas Parade judge, and she's the 23-24 parliamentarian. She will be going to Emory University, majoring in public health.
I need to add a bit about Melinda that is not on the Newnan Citizen, the Newnan Student Council. She was also a representative to Plant Newnan, which is the organization that has taken on the reforestation of the urban canopy that we lost during the tornado. And Belinda was a great representative, always there, always on time, always worked hard.
And I left that out, Miles Redray was also.
Yes, Miles, yeah, I'm sorry. Right.
Susan Graydon Pass, 12th grader at Heritage. She was our 23-24 Christmas Parade judge, and she will be going to Auburn University, majoring in psychology.
Another one.
Stella Weaver, 12th grade, Newnan. She was the NYC 23-24 secretary, and she will be going to the University of Georgia, majoring in biological science.
Good on.
Thank you all so much for all the hard work.
Should I just say one thing? We also are getting ready to interview the new candidates for this year. And the new candidates who are coming in the fall will not have been born when we started the new season.
Wow. Thank you. Let's see the longevity of the program.
Youth council to the front. Parents can leave too.
That's a cool milestone. And we got the ones who are attending.
While we exit, we'll remind you that we're going to do the Newnan Citizen Academy this time. I'll ask Ms. Haddon to come up if you'd like to assist. puts that together and runs the program every year. We appreciate that very much. Thank you. Okay, Melissa, and I'm gonna misstep.
It's Camera, just like it looks. Camera, yes. Thank you so much.
Lucretia Pfeiffer.
It's a little high, yeah.
Joanne Murphy. I will stay over on this section. Jamarcus Jacobs. Congratulations. Dominique Reese Smith. Christina Joseph. Beth Moore. Aurora Meredith. Thank you all for participating. Okay, the next item on the agenda this evening this is under new business. This is a public hearing. This is consideration of emergency demolition of structures located at 1 Madison Street. Mr. Parton, how are you, sir?
Good, thank you.
This is a public hearing. I'm opening at this time on the demolition of that particular, I'm sorry, right after this, if you don't mind, because I've opened the public hearing. Now, on the demolition at 1 Madison Street. You have the floor.
Thank you. New property owner discovered some hazardous toxic materials in the building. Then EPD has issued them an order to clean the site up. In order to do that, they need to do some selective demolition on the building to get it out of the way, to get those hazardous materials out of the way. So what we're asking is an emergency order, since the buildings are more than 50 years old, but they're on the timeline with EPD.
Correct.
We don't have the time to go through the normal process.
Hence the emergency
Hence
request.
the emergency request, yes, sir.
Is there anyone, after hearing staff's report, is there anyone here that would like to speak to the issue of the demolition at 1 Madison Street in opposition to that demolition? I'm going to close the public hearing at this time then and ask for a motion on the issue.
So moved. Second.
Motion and second that we grant emergency demolition of the structures located at 1 Madison Street. Any discussion?
I do, I've got one question.
Yes, a question.
I was looking at this and it said that the EPD, Environmental Protection Division, has issued an order to have the site abated within 120 days from April 1st. So that's 4 months. I guess I'm just trying to figure out what was done differently between what we're doing now and what our normal process is, and what's the difference in that timeline?
Mr. Phillips?
Because 4
or
months
Mr. Craven?
seems like enough
We
time.
both can answer, but
Sure, thank you. Good question. In talking with the applicant, it's our understanding that they can't mobilize and get the work done. As you heard, Mr. Barton talked to selective demolition because of the contents. It's not just a demo and pull it out. There's time involved. And so the process, as it's been explained to us by the applicant, who's in the audience can speak to it specifically, if you'd like, would take too much time if we had to wait the full 30 days required before issuing the permit for demolition and then to start the work. It would have been outside of that 120 days.
we couldn't get him on the council hearing until the July meeting. That's the real.
That's what I really wanted to know.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, cool.
Okay. So it had the motion and a second. Any other questions, discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. Thank you. We're on to the next. This also is a public hearing. This is a consideration to amend the urban redevelopment plan with a revised urban redevelopment area map. How are you, Ms. Donovan?
I'm doing well, thank you very much.
Good.
As you recall at the last meeting, Mr. Moody advised you all that as part of the Georgia Initiative for Community Housing Program, we're asked periodically to review the plan and the boundaries for any possible changes. In reviewing the map and going over it with the Urban Redevelopment Agency, we determined that there were some boundary changes we would like to propose to you all. The urban redevelopment law requires us to have a public hearing prior to amending the plan, so that's why we're having a public hearing tonight. Afterwards, you can consider the recommendation. I do want to mention that there are no negative repercussions for placement in the district. It just allows you to take advantage of some of the programs that the NURA board currently manages.
Thank you. Any questions of Ms. Donovan? This is a public hearing that we have open on this subject of amending the urban redevelopment area map.
I have a question. Sure. So we're expanding it out. We've already expanded it out once back in 2013. And now we're going to expand it again. And I understand about expanding being able to utilize some resources for that. But as we expand it out, should we not maybe be taking some off as the time has gone on and we've potentially invested in the existing areas? Shouldn't those be being brought up so that we can take those off the map instead of just adding more and more and more to it?
We will be doing that in the future. NURA really didn't have a lot of funding and so forth to move forward with a lot of programs beyond Paint Day. So now we are actually going in and we have houses coming out of the ground and so forth. We're able to go in and do some things with CHIP funds and so forth in chalk level in different areas. So we will be taking those off. The ones you see from 2013 were actually commercial, but we can decrease this area once we do make improvements.
So in the meantime, would it be better to concentrate the resources on the existing areas before we expand it any further?
That's up to this board.
I think the benefit of adding to the area is that now we can, because it sometimes takes a little while for funding to come around. So once the typical grant cycle sometimes can be years before you can get it out of the ground, but you have to have it designated before you apply.
Yeah, I guess I would just like to see, as we focus, because some of the criteria factors were age of the homes, number of rental units, low levels of home ownerships, building exteriors needed repair, and property distress. If we can, let's focus what we have before expanding. I'd just rather have it concentrated than have it spread out so thin that we really aren't that effective at anything.
Well, part of this was that we also had Westgate, and then the other side of Westgate was not included, so we felt like that was something that should be put into this. And some areas around Rocky Hill that were left out. So I think these are additions to areas that probably should have been in there in the first place.
And I would agree with that.
Mr. Mayor, I was
Any
going
other
to,
questions?
Tracy, I was just going to ask that question. So the expanded area, to restate you, it's similar to the first area and it would benefit from the same as the first area? So
Yes, sir.
okay,
And we've
gotcha.
actually had applications for Paint Day in part of Westgate that we weren't able to address because they weren't included while the other side was.
Very good, thank you.
All right. Any other questions, Ms. Tillman? I'll ask the question if there's anyone here who would like to speak to the issue of the revised urban redevelopment area map. This is a public hearing, opportunity to come forward. Seeing no one move, I'm going to close the public hearing at this time and ask if there's a motion on the issue.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second, we adopt the map as are requested or recommended by staff. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is to go back and recognize the Newnan Youth Council attendees to tonight's meeting. We got caught up in the other awards that we were giving out, and we did not do these, and I'm going to ask Ms. Jenkins to do that at this time.
Our youth council members are required to attend one meeting a year and then go back to their group and tell them what happened. And so they are learning from the city council on how and what we're doing and keeping up with that and explaining it to their council members. So Belinda Ramirez Ocampo, as you heard earlier, she's out taking a picture, but she's a senior at East Coweta in the Parliamentarian. We have with us also Alex Allen, please stand, who's a junior at Northgate. And we also have Margaret Gail Barron, sophomore at Newnan. Thank you all for joining us.
Welcome. Thank you for your service. We appreciate it very much. Next item on the agenda is the election of GMA's district officers for District 4 for this year. Is there a motion we adopt?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second, we adopt the resolution for the election of GMA's District 4 officers as presented. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate this by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. The next item is for information only, a consideration of program to provide an inspection of single-family rental properties. As you'll recall, this item, Mr. Sears is going to handle this, but as you'll recall, this item was discussed at our latest retreat, and this is just to close the loop on this item. Mr. Sears?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think we had discussed this briefly at the retreat, but I've given you a copy of the current code section, OCGA 367430. If you'll look at B on that code section, we discussed that no local government may require the registration of residential rental property. So on that basis, any addition to change the current ordinance to include less than 4 family, in my opinion, would not be, we would not be able to sustain that if we were challenged.
Thank you, Mr. Sears. So we consider that, that issue closed for us at this time. We appreciate it. On to the next item on the agenda, the consideration of planning agreements with Historical Concepts LLC for development of concept plans for the Andrew Street Corridor, Railroad District, and 57 East projects. Mr. Craver, you have this.
Yes, Mayor Brady, members of the council, this is a direct result of your action at the council retreat, seeking agreements with Historical Concepts to develop greater plans for what we call either the Andrew Street or Railroad District. In addition, what you see is a similar type agreement, but for a different target area, very specifically 57 East. They're very similar in nature. They're planning exercises, planning documents. I'll highlight a few differences. One is that there's a cost difference between the two. The Andrew Street corridor study has an anticipated cost not to exceed $47,000, while the activities at 57 East has an anticipated cost not to exceed $79,000. A member of the Historical Concepts team, Ryan Newpower, is in the audience and may answer questions if you so have.
Anyone?
I have a question,
Yes, please.
just to refresh my memory. How much exactly have we spent in studies for 57 East?
You can give us a minute, please, sir.
It doesn't have to be, okay, let's remove the word exact. Give me a ballpark.
Yeah, we're 6 figures,
6 figures being like,
a few $100,000.
how much?
A few $100,000.
A few being like north of 500,000 or?
No, sir, yeah,
Okay, when you say a few, I'm just trying to,
3,
okay, 3. Okay,
I don't know the exact number.
yes, sir. I can get it to you, but I
Sure.
don't have it right.
that's
now.
okay. That's good enough. I'm just curious.
That's fine. Yeah, just report it back.
Thank you.
I have a question, is that, I was reading through this, will we own the final product on both of these?
Well,
Do we actually own
that's
them?
not decided.
No,
Yes, sir.
well, it's part of the contract here, and as I was reading through it,
Oh, I mean, what their production
They were.
is, yeah,
Yeah.
we own.
I just want to make sure that we own it when they're finished,
Yes,
correct?
sir, the deliverable, the plan will be ours, though, City of Newnan's plan.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments?
I do have one thing to add for the record.
Mr. Phil?
If council decides to move forward, it is staff's plan to actually come back. We do actually have, remember, we had a $10 million ARPA revenue replacement category, and we still have about $40,000 that hasn't been allocated to that $10 million revenue replacement. We would come back later and ask for the funding source to be out of that ARPA revenue replacement and not the general fund balance.
Thank you.
It's good.
Thank you.
Any other comments, questions? Is there a motion?
Are these 2 separate motions or one? Motion for each? We talked about 2 different properties right here.
That's fine.
I mean, I'm really ready to make a motion. I know if it's just one. Okay, we jumped into 57. We're on Andrews right now, correct?
We've been discussing both, but either way that you want to take into it.
Okay.
Is it 2 separate contracts?
Yes, sir.
I'd like two separate motions, please.
I'll
make the first.
Second.
On Andrew Street.
Yep.
I have a motion on Andrew to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. And then on 57 East, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
indicate by saying aye.
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 Thank you. Motion carried. Thank you. The next item on the agenda, unfinished business, another public hearing for this evening. This is a zoning ordinance text amendment for Articles 2, 8, and 13, revising certain language sections as it pertains to changes to the sign regulations and related sign ordinance items. If you'll recall, back in January, we placed a moratorium on the sign ordinance, and this that you have before you is a result of what has come before the Planning Commission, and they adopted a motion to move these along to us. So, Mr. Smith, how are you this evening?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Well, thank you. As you indicated, this is just to bring you up to the current situation. The moratorium is set to expire today, and if you adopt this ordinance, we can move forward with issuance of sign permits that are awaiting or have been waiting by tomorrow. You may be wondering, well, why do we change Articles 2 and 13 in addition to the sign ordinance? It was suggested by outside counsel that we add Article 2 in the event that in the future Article 8 is challenged, rendered null and void. We would have another chapter of the zoning ordinance that would allow us some flexibility to deal with sign regulations in the city. Article 13 is simply to refine that definition of what is meant by freestanding sign, to include those things that are listed in there, which would incorporate billboards and other freestanding type signs. But I'll be glad to answer any of the questions you may have.
Any questions of Mr. Smith from council? This is a public hearing on this issue. I want to ask the public at this time, if there's anyone who's attended the meeting this evening who would like to come forward to speak to the issue of the zoning ordinance text amendments, revising certain language and sections as they pertain to changes in the sign regulations and related sign ordinance items. If you have come for that reason, this is your opportunity to speak. Again, no one moves, so I'm going to close the public hearing at this time and ask for a motion on the issue, on the ordinance.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. We adopt the ordinance as presented. Any discussion or questions? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. Okay, visitors, tonight we have a request from Race for the Orphans to block parking spots on Brown Street from West Washington to Wesley Street on Friday, May the 3rd, late afternoon, in preparation for a 5K on Saturday, May the 4th. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. We grant the request as presented. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. Thank you very much. Anything else off agenda this evening? We have no need for an executive session that I'm aware of. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. We adjourn. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. We are adjourned. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. And thank you, everyone, for the class. We appreciate your time.
My mama's gonna go home tonight.